Now, in all honesty, with thousands of different stocks and ETFs to choose from when it comes to investing into the stock market, I still to this day think, after 10 years of investing, that Vanguard ETFs, generally speaking, are a great place to start if you want to build out a portfolio that's going to grow over time, pay you tons of income, or maybe a little bit of both. But with so many different high-quality Vanguard ETFs to choose from, I mean, here's just a few of the popular ones I'm scrolling past as of right now. It can definitely be confusing to know which ones are the best for your specific portfolio, which is why in today's video I want to share with you guys my personal 5 favorite Vanguard ETFs that can really get the job done no matter if you're looking for tons of growth potential, income generation, diversification, etc. So if you want to see my 5 favorite Vanguard ETFs across the entire market, then make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. My A to Z dividend investing ebook has already helped countless dividend investors get started with their journey. And my custom dividend tracker, the one I use all the time on my videos, has also helped so many investors stay organized and has actually helped them see their dividend income grow. Well, today I have something even better for you guys. When you click the first link down below in my description and you grab my A to Z dividend investing ebook, today you're not only going to get the ebook, but you're also going to be getting the custom dividend tracker, which you can use to track your own dividend income ongoingly, get direct access to my personal email where you guys can email me any questions regarding dividend investing. You're also going to receive a link to view all of my holdings inside my 7-figure dividend portfolio and see all the positions I add and take away ongoingly. And you're going to get for absolutely free my brand new high yield dividend investing ebook, where I show you the power of maximizing some of these high yielding ETFs and teach you everything there is to know about that also. This is going to be your one shot to grab everything inside of one single bundle, but you got to move quick because I'm not going to offer this for long. Now, with all that, let's get back into the video. Now, my first favorite Vanguard ETF is going to have to be VTI, the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. Now, this is a perfect ETF for those busy investors out there. Maybe you guys are watching this video, have a full-time job. Maybe you guys have a family and you do want to be invested into the stock market. You do want to have some exposure to all the upside and the wealth that the stock market can create, but you're just too busy to go through and single stock pick or even pick ETFs for that matter. Now, the cool thing with VTI is that this ETF seeks to track the performance of the CRSP, which is the US Total Stock Market Index. Inside of VTI ETF, there are 3,524 different stocks inside this one single ETF. So by buying a share of VTI, you are getting exposure to tons of different stocks, well over 3,000 stocks. Which, to be fair, some investors might say is way too much diversification, and it can depend on what your goals are and what you're looking for. But VTI, the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF, could definitely be an amazing foundation to build up on top of later on. Now, VTI, along with all the other Vanguard ETFs we're going to talk about, are very cheap to hold on to with an expense ratio of 0.03%. VTI does also pay a dividend, around 1.14% yield as of right now, so not all that much cash flow. This ETF is going to be much more growth oriented. And looking at VTI's performance on the max time frame, since 2001, this ETF has offered investors over 725% total return, which is not bad whatsoever. Now, the best thing about VTI, in my opinion, is going to be the diversification. Obviously, with exposure to the total stock market, more or less, you are not going to have to worry about a single stock or even a handful or two of single stocks having a bad year, bad quarter, or a bad decade at that point. By having exposure to so many different names, it's sort of a set it and forget it. And this ETF, like I said, is perfect for those investors out there, maybe like yourself, that are a little bit too busy. My next favorite Vanguard ETF would have to be VGT. This is also going to be much more of a growth-focused ETF. This ETF is called the Vanguard Information Technology ETF. The expense ratio for this one is 0.09%. And this ETF is going to be categorized in more technology focus. Now, for those investors that do want exposure to some of the best technology stocks across the entire market, VGT is going to offer you around 316 different stocks, again, all inside one ETF. Vanguard ETFs, generally speaking, are very well diversified. They're cheap to hold on to, and across the board, they've done very well. But for those investors that do want some exposure to names like Nvidia, like Microsoft, Apple, some of the fastest growing tech companies, VGT is going to give you that exposure all with a single click of the button. Now, VGT's performance has been outstanding, and this is of course because technology has done amazing over this time frame. Since 2004, this ETF is up over 1,550%. Now again, VGT is going to be much more of a growth-oriented ETF. So if you're an investor out there that doesn't really care about income generation or dividends, VGT is definitely an ETF to look into. Next up, one of my favorite ETFs, VU, of course, the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. I can honestly say that the S&P 500 index is my favorite exposure across the entire market. The S&P 500 is very well diversified and represents 500 of the largest US companies all inside of one simple index. Now, VU obviously offers you exposure to the S&P 500 with an expense ratio of 0.03%, very cheap to hold on to, a dividend yield of around 1.16%. So again, this ETF is going to be much more growth oriented. Now, the performance for VU is also very, very impressive, up 680% since 2010. And at this point, you're probably noticing a bit of a pattern here. A lot of these Vanguard ETFs have been very, very hard to outperform. So obviously, for those investors out there that want high quality S&P 500 exposure, VU is a great ETF to look into. Now, the next ETF might be my personal favorite Vanguard ETF across all of them, just because I consider myself much more of a dividend investor. We're talking about VIG, or the Vanguard Dividend Appreciation ETF. This ETF has a 0.05% expense ratio and a dividend yield of around 1.63%. Now, this ETF is going to track the performance of the S&P US Dividend Growers Index, which is large cap equities emphasizing stocks with a record of growing their dividends year over year. Now, the cool thing about VIG is that you're sort of getting a hybrid exposure. Although it does pay a dividend of around 1.63% more or less, this ETF also has some nice dividend growth historically. But let's be real here, this ETF also has grown like crazy since inception. Now, how much has this ETF grown since 2006? It's up around 520%. So once again, not bad whatsoever. It's an ETF that I've been holding on to for a long time in my portfolio, just because I think it offers a nice balance between dividends, dividend growth, and of course, price appreciation too. Now, my last favorite Vanguard ETF, and real quick guys, drop a like down below if you like these sort of videos and subscribe if you want to learn more about investing. But VYM, or the Vanguard High Dividend Yield ETF, this is going to be a much higher yielding dividend growth ETF, 2.48% yield with this one. And the way this ETF works is it seeks to track the performance of the FTSE High Dividend Yield Index, which measures the investment return of common stocks of companies characterized by high dividend yields. Now, once again, tons of diversification with VYM, 579 individual stocks inside this portfolio. You're going to get a little bit more dividend yield, a little more income generation with VYM, but still this ETF also has grown over time. The performance of VYM since inception date 2006, not the best across comparison of all the other ones we talked about, but this ETF is still up around 400% over this time frame. VYM is one of the most popular dividend growth ETFs. You're going to hear a lot about it, especially if you just started investing. And the ETF is definitely worth looking into if, of course, you do favor high dividend yields to start. So there we have it, guys. Those are my personal 5 favorite Vanguard ETFs. Again, there's so many different Vanguard ETFs out there to choose from, but my personal favorites are those 5. Now, because I'm more of a dividend investor, like I said, VIG is sort of the perfect ETF for what I'm looking for, but all 5 of those ETFs are perfect foundational builders, in my humble opinion. So now that we talked about some of my favorite Vanguard ETFs, we went over them, I shared with you guys what they have to offer, and even told you my personal favorites. I lastly, most importantly, have a question for you guys down below. Out of all the different Vanguard ETFs out there throughout the market, what's your personal favorite across everything? Let me know down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like in it, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.